Look up tonight. Pick any star. That light left its source before your grandparents were born, before their grandparents, before anyone alive today drew their first breath. You are not looking at the sky. You are looking at history. Living, traveling, arriving history. Your gut says the past is gone, that it ended, that it is behind you, somewhere back there, sealed. Your gut is wrong. There are 4 specific walls, 4 absolute verdicts. And by the time we reach the last one, you will never look at a clock the same way again. Human beings have always felt the past slipping away. The ancient Greeks had 2 words for time: chronos, the ticking, measurable kind, and kairos, the kind that feels like it carries meaning, weight, presence. They noticed something we still feel in our bones. The past does not feel truly gone. It feels near. Aristotle sat with this question. So did St. Augustine, who wrote that the present of past things is memory, and that memory is not a record. It is a living act. He was on to something that physics would not confirm for another 1,500 years. Newton thought time was a river, flowing in one direction. The past, upstream, the future, downstream. You cannot swim back. That seemed obvious, that seemed final. Then Einstein arrived, and he did not just question Newton's river. He asked, what if there is no river at all? What if past, present, and future are not moments passing through time, but coordinates sitting in it, like cities on a map? New York does not disappear because you are in Los Angeles. It is still there, waiting. What Einstein described is called the block universe, and it means something almost unbearable in its strangeness. The past is not behind you, it is beside you, permanent. Frozen, real. There are 4 verdicts that explain exactly why this is true and why it changes everything about what you think you are living through. Here is the first wall. This is verdict 1. You think seeing something means knowing it is happening now. That is wrong. Here is why. Light travels fast, very fast, about 300,000 kilometers per second. Nothing in the universe travels faster. Think of it this way. Imagine you and a friend are having a conversation, but every word takes a year to arrive. By the time your friend hears hello, a year of your life has passed. That is not a metaphor. That is exactly what looking at the night sky is. The nearest star to our sun is Proxima Centauri. It sits 4.24 light years away. That means the light you see tonight left that star 4.24 years ago. At humanity's fastest spacecraft speed, the Parker Solar Probe, about 700,000 kilometers per hour, it would take us roughly 6,600 years to get there. The light that left it 4.24 years ago is the only message we will receive for a very long time. You think, fine, 4 years of delay. That is manageable. That won't work. Here's why. The Andromeda Galaxy, the closest major galaxy to ours, sits 2.537 million light years away. The light arriving in your eye tonight left Andromeda when our species did not exist, when Homo sapiens had not yet walked the Earth, and yet here it is, arriving. Now, in your eye, you are not observing a distant place. You are receiving a letter written before humans existed. New solution, maybe light is just slow. Maybe if we had instruments that worked faster than light, we could see the present. That won't work either. Einstein showed that nothing, no signal, no particle, no information can travel faster than light. The speed of light is not a speed limit. It is a law of geometry. The universe is built so that every observer receives information with delay baked in. There is no shortcut. There is no true now. Every moment of the past that produced light is still traveling, still arriving, still real. The star you saw last night might be dead. It might have exploded 3,000 years ago in a catastrophe of unimaginable scale. But you will not know for 3,000 more years. The past does not wait for your permission to arrive. But here's the part no one tells you, and this is where it gets truly strange. The light delay is just the beginning. The deeper problem is this. Physicists who study the structure of space-time have concluded that time does not flow at all. This is verdict 2. Think of it this way. Take a loaf of bread. Now slice it. Each slice is a moment in time, a snapshot of where everything is at a particular instant. Newton's universe was a loaf where the slices were being cut one by one, moving from past to future. Einstein's universe is a loaf that already exists, all of it, every slice. The cutting is an illusion. You are not moving through time. You are a four-dimensional shape, a worm made of every moment of your life from birth to death, and you are not moving anywhere. You are simply there, existing. The whole worm, all at once. This is called the block universe theory, or eternalism, and it is not a fringe idea. It is the most natural reading of Einstein's equations of special relativity. Physicists like Hermann Minkowski, who was Einstein's former professor, formalized it in 1908. Minkowski put it simply, space alone and time alone were finished as independent things. Only their union space-time was real. Think of what that means. If space and time are one fabric space-time, then asking where did the past go is like asking where did Tuesday go. Tuesday is not somewhere else. Tuesday is a location. It exists at the coordinates where Tuesday was. You think, maybe we just experience time as flowing. Maybe the block universe is the math, not the reality. That won't work. Here's why. The experience of flow is itself something that happens in time. Neuroscientists studying human consciousness have found that what we call the present moment lasts somewhere between 2 and 3 seconds. The brain is always integrating a small window of past input and calling it now. The present is already a story the brain tells about the recent past. The flowing river was always a story. The block was always underneath it. Stop. What I am about to tell you changes everything. Even if you rejected the block universe, even if you insisted that past moments truly vanish, there is something they leave behind that cannot be destroyed. This is verdict 3. Every event causes the next event. The past does not just leave memories, it leaves structure. The shape of this moment was carved entirely by every moment before it. The atoms in your hand were forged in a stellar explosion that happened before our solar system existed. Every decision you made today was shaped by conversations you had years ago. Every conversation was shaped by a childhood experience. Every childhood experience reached back into the physics of your parents, their parents, a chain of causes stretching back to the first second of the universe. Think of it this way. Knock over a glass of water. The water spreads across the table. The water is gone from the glass. But the physics of where every water molecule went is encoded in the state of the table, the floor, the air currents of the room. A perfect calculator, given the current state of every atom in that room, could reconstruct exactly how the glass fell. The past is still there, written in consequences. The universe is such a calculator, it does not forget. In physics, this is called determinism, or in quantum mechanics, unitarity. The idea that information is never truly destroyed, that the past is always, in some sense, recoverable from the present state of things. You think, maybe quantum randomness destroys this. Maybe the universe forgets sometimes. That won't work either. Even quantum mechanics preserves information at the level of the wave function. This is called unitarity, and it is one of the most ferociously defended principles in modern physics. Stephen Hawking famously suggested that black holes might destroy information. The physics community resisted for decades. Eventually, the evidence swung back. Even black holes, it seems, preserve what entered them, encoded, scrambled, but there, the past wrote this moment. And this moment is writing the next. The chain is unbroken. And now we reach verdict 4, the one no one sees coming. Now let's talk about something no one else is saying out loud. If the past is permanent, encoded in light, still traveling, written into the structure of space-time, preserved in the causal fabric of everything, then you are not just living a life. You are becoming a permanent fact. Every moment you have ever experienced, every conversation, every sunrise, every moment of grief, every morning you woke up and did not want to get out of bed, but did anyway, is now a fixed coordinate in space-time. It is woven into the architecture of the universe. It cannot be undone. It cannot be erased. Carl Sagan once asked us to consider the pale blue dot, that photograph of Earth taken by Voyager 1 from 6 billion kilometers away in 1990. Earth appeared as a fraction of a single pixel, a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. That image, that moment, is still traveling outward. Right now, at the speed of light, it has traveled 34 years into space. It is about 34 light years from Earth. Any civilization sitting 34 light years from here, with a telescope powerful enough, is receiving that photograph right now. They are seeing 1,990 millions. The light from your childhood home is still out there traveling somewhere between 10 and 50 light years from Earth, depending on your age. The photons that bounced off your face as a child are still crossing the void, still carrying your image. Into the dark. You are not just a memory in someone's mind. You are light still traveling, a signal still broadcasting. A permanent feature of the universe's autobiography. The universe is not indifferent to you. It has recorded you. It has kept you. Every moment you live adds another permanent coordinate to the fabric of what has existed. This is the moment most videos stop. We are going further, and now let us sit with how small we are. The observable universe stretches 93 billion light years in diameter, 2 trillion galaxies, each galaxy holding hundreds of billions of stars, and between every single one of those stars, silence. Distances so vast that even light traveling at the fastest speed the universe permits takes thousands of years just to cross from one star to the next. In all of that staggering, ancient emptiness, the odds of you existing are not just small. They are, for all practical purposes, impossible. Think of it this way. Every ancestor you have ever had needed to survive long enough to reproduce. Every single one. Go back 10 generations, that is already over 1,000 people whose lives had to unfold in exactly the right way. Go back 100 generations, 1,000. Go back to the first living cell on this planet 4 billion years ago. One unbroken chain, not a single link missing. Your great-grandmother had to survive a winter that killed her neighbors. Her grandmother had to find food during a famine that erased entire villages. Her grandmother had to cross a mountain or a river or a war and come out the other side alive. Every single one of them made it. Every single one. A slightly different asteroid impact 300 million years ago, and the mammals never rise. A slightly different drought 10,000 years ago, and your lineage ends before agriculture exists. A slightly different wrong turn, a slightly different storm, a slightly different heartbeat, and the chain breaks. And you are never born. The universe did not have to make you. It had every reason not to. The probability of your existence, calculated from the first moment of the Big Bang, is so close to zero that no number we use in daily life can describe it. You are not just unlikely. You are, by any reasonable measure, a miracle of consecutive accidents that somehow all fell the right way. And yet here you are, not just alive, not just breathing, but alive at a precise moment. 13.8 billion years of cosmic history, and the universe finally grew complex enough to look back at itself and ask what it is. For most of its existence, the universe was dark. Hydrogen and helium drifting in the void. No eyes, no questions, no wonder, no one to notice any of it. Stars burned for billions of years and there was no one to see them. Galaxies collided in silence. Supernovae tore themselves apart, and the light traveled for millions of years and arrived nowhere, into empty dark. Then, on one small rocky planet, orbiting one ordinary star, in one unremarkable corner of one average galaxy, something happened. Atoms organized themselves into something that could feel, that could think, that could look up at the very stars that forged it and say, I see you, I know what you are, I know how old you are, I know that your light left you before I was born. You are what the universe built to notice itself. You are how the cosmos learned it existed. And here is what that means for everything we have talked about today. Every second of your life, every moment of love, grief, wonder, boredom, curiosity, fear, hope, is now a permanent coordinate in space-time, written into the block, encoded in light still traveling outward into the dark, preserved in the causal chain that will reach forward and touch every moment that comes after you. The photons that bounced off your face today are already traveling. They will cross this solar system. They will enter the void between stars. In 10,000 years, in 100,000 years, something somewhere, if anything, is there to receive them, will be getting a message, a signal. You, the universe, does not forget. It cannot. That is not how it is built. Every moment that has ever happened is still there, permanent, sitting at its coordinates in the fabric of space-time. The past is not behind you, it is not fading, it is not gone. The past is you, all of it, every version of you that has ever existed. Permanent, real, still happening right now, at the right coordinates in the fabric of the cosmos. That is not poetry. That is physics.